This is In Case You Missed It, and this week we're looking at 5 of the biggest national agriculture stories of 2024. Canada Post, Canada's ports, and Canada's railways all saw work stoppages in 2024. Few, however, caused quite the ballyhoo that erupted when workers at both national railways voted to strike. Pressure mounted on the federal government to stop the strike, as industry groups calculated the sheer impact of both railways shutting down simultaneously. In the end, it was CN and CPKC who pulled the plug, locking out workers on August 22nd. That was when the federal labor minister stepped in, asking the Canadian Industrial Relations Board to issue a back-to-work order. Late in the year, an additional CN strike was averted after a different group of workers ratified an agreement with the company. Speculation about U.S. tariffs kicked into high gear this November. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump threatened to levy a 25% tariff against goods imported from Canada and Mexico. Analysts differed as to if Trump's talk should be taken at face value, with some speculating it was a play for leverage ahead of a scheduled review of the CUSMA trade agreement. However, the general mood was one of concern. The Canadian and American agriculture sectors are heavily integrated. For example, the US imported some $6 billion worth of Canadian beef and live cattle in 2024. With beef herds at 60-year lows, this gives American companies some incentive to maintain the status quo. Beef industry leader Dave Solverson pointed to the value of relationships with cattle-producing states, saying these have helped to solve trade problems in the past. In March, a Texas dairy herd was initially diagnosed with Texas Agalactiae syndrome, before it was identified as avian influenza. Before long, cases of bird flu were diagnosed as far north as Michigan, as researchers worked to identify how the disease was spreading. Human cases of avian influenza also popped up, especially among workers from infected dairy and poultry farms. While human risk has remained officially low, international health groups like the World Organization for Animal Health warned that the spread of bird flu to more species increases the risk of transmission. It also gives more opportunity for the virus to mutate. In Canada, bulk milk testing as recently as mid-December has turned up no sign of the disease. While poultry farms in Canada have been infected, no bovine outbreaks have been reported. At times, the bottom seemed to fall out on canola, but somehow the market ended up near where it started in 2024. At the start of the year, canola was on a steady downward slide from record highs in 2022. With the oilseed around $616 per ton in late January, one analyst suggested it hadn't yet hit rock bottom, as demand was low. Nearby futures traded in the range of $540 to $680 per ton throughout the year and ended around $600. Meanwhile, corn hit 4-year lows in August but turned higher in the fall. Wheat slid to its lowest levels since 2020. In the cattle sector, prices continued a general upward track. Herds continued to shrink until at least May, when moisture conditions improved in Western Canada. Canfax in late November suggested the Canadian herd was consolidating, as slaughter volumes of cows had declined. After years of advocacy from farm and consumer groups, the Canadian Senate passed 2 right-to-repair bills this fall. Bill C-244 amended the Copyright Act to allow owners to bypass digital locks and access diagnostic software to repair machinery. Bill C-294 amended the Act to allow for increased interoperability between different technologies. Producer groups have long argued that farmers should have the right to repair their own equipment, despite the complex digital systems and proprietary technology on board. Manufacturers have pushed back, saying a DIY approach may inadvertently damage equipment by altering it. In case you missed these and other stories, visit the Glacier Farm Media Network, news that matters to farmers across Canada.